I'm a former New York State Supreme Court Justice. Let me tell you about a sports medical issue that is causing great concern in this country. It involves thousands and thousands of youngsters in their ages of 10, 9, 12, 14, 18, high school age, college age. And the sport that I'm talking about is football. Now, this is what is happening today. Take a youngster who's 10 years old and he's part of a football league. These kids play in a rough game. They're hammered, they're tackled, and what happens in many cases is that they suffer concussions that they don't even know about. Concussions come about in this way. We all have a brain, and the brain is encased by a skull. When there's a hard blow to the individual, even if that individual is wearing a helmet, that brain, which is soft, moves and hits the sides of the skull. And every time that happens, there's a trauma. There's a minor or a major traumatic brain injury. And if this is done often and often enough, when the infant is or the child is 12 years old, 14, playing high school football, for example, and if this happens often enough, and it does happen in the football games, then this is something that could be very serious. A concussion is a very serious situation that involves these young people playing football. Now, I'll give you the example of someone, member of a high school team, a varsity team, playing football, a runner, for example, or a quarterback who is hit solidly at the time and tackled solidly, or hits the ground with great force, despite the fact that he's wearing a helmet. That causes what is known as a back and forth of the brain, hitting the sides of the wall of the skull. And every time that happens, there's damage to the brain. Now, the brain has millions and millions of cells. And when there is a force that causes the brain to hit the side of the wall of the skull, then there is damage to that brain. Now, what happens, unfortunately, in many high school games, for example, a youngster who is running with the ball is suddenly tackled hard and suddenly feels dizzy, headaches. Well, under those circumstances, he must be taken out of the game immediately and tested to see whether or not he's lost any balance, memory, if there's any kind of a situation that he cannot put his finger to his nose properly when tested, headaches. Now, if these things are left unattended, which unfortunately many are, this youngster is put back into the game. Once again, the trauma hits and the brain is being traumatized. Now, ultimately, if this goes on time after time, there is a condition that is known as CTE, chronic traumatic encephalopathy. And this can cause not only considerable brain damage, but it can change the whole personality of an individual. The brain is the center of all life. It controls our speech, our memory, our ability to speak, our ability to feel, our ability to walk. There isn't any part of our body itself that is not affected by the brain. And you damage a portion of the brain, you're damaging a portion of the body. And if it happens time and time again, as it happens repeatedly in football, then of course there is permanent damage, and permanent damage can lead not only to massive disability, but ultimately to death, and in many cases, to suicide. This is a problem that we have to confront. And it's a sports problem that we have to deal with. And it's a sports problem that the schools have to take responsibility for. If they do not do what is necessary to protect the youngsters who are on those high school teams or even on the college teams, this is something that is very serious and must be dealt with, and must be dealt with now. Well, I'll have more to say about sports injuries, but as for now, in the meantime, this is a storyteller telling you to stay safe and keep out of danger.